7:45, a major drop in emergency department visits across the U.S. seems like a positive story, right? However, it's actually creating concern for medical professionals at the CDC, and they fear patients are avoiding hospitals at all costs due to COVID. But the facts don't add up. Joining us now, law partner for Gilman and Bedigian, Charles Gilman. Thank you so much for joining us, Charles.
Thank you, Tom. It's nice to be with you.
Yeah, this is a big question, though. You hear it and you're like, oh, okay, that's great. Emergency department visits are down. That means that the people aren't getting into accidents. They're not hurting themselves much. And the CDC is saying, no, it's just the opposite. In fact, we need to see more people in the hospital because this is going to create even bigger problems later on. What did they mean by that?
Well, Tom, it's from a medical malpractice standpoint, what we see is we see people, or the Monday morning quarterbacks, if you will. We have people calling our office all the time and saying, look, this went wrong. My doctor should have done something for me. And what we're discovering is people are having heart attacks, strokes, and issues like that that are typically easily cured or prevented if they take a trip to the emergency room. But people are so terrified of COVID and they don't think that the hospitals are safe. So rather than addressing what they think is a chest pain or something in their head or something that's an indication of a very serious medical ailment, they're ignoring it and they're creating a much bigger problem for themselves. Like the heart attack is a great example. If treated early and taken care of, you have a very high survival rate. If you don't go to the hospital and you ignore the chest pain or ignore whatever symptoms you have, there's a much better likelihood that you either have a very serious injury or die.
Charles, let's talk about the possible lawsuits here that go on this related to anything medical here. So if a lot of people have businesses, they have to pass a screening, they have to fill out forms to avoid any lawsuits on the behalf of the commercial industry or whichever their employer is doing. Do you think that plays a little bit into the minds, though, of somebody that's saying, you know what, I don't want to go to the hospital because what happens then? I might be out of work for 2 weeks or not be able to come back until I get a positive test.
Absolutely, but those people should keep in mind that there's the CARES Act and various different other acts that have been passed by the federal government that are forcing your employer to essentially pay you while you're out for COVID. Yeah, it might only be 14 days of pay, but that's your typical quarantine period. So, you know, having a job is very, very important. I don't want to minimize that. Not getting terminated is very, very important. But I think that employers in this day and age are willing to work with employees, understand that a quarantine is important. And you also have to keep in mind that if you don't take care of these ailments and head to an emergency room, work may not be an issue because if you don't survive a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, then you don't need to work because you're not around to work.
All right, Charles Gilman with Gilman and Bedigian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tom. It was good to see you.
Good to see you, too.